are the main dining room that we have right now. In 83 and 84, there was actually a doorway on the corner that brought you in. They did wise up because of that cold air that came from the west side of the pier, and they recognized it was not smart. So they bricked that particular door in. It still gives us grief to this day. They didn't quite seal it up. And there you can see the door is bricked in, but yet the trim is still up above on the door there.
Nice.
The air conditioning is going. You can see the curtains blowing out. It's just 1895 roughly. You can see the bar room above the bar room door there. That's the present bar room. You kind of zoom in there. Can you see that? Right there. It says bar room right there on the transom. Go over one. There you go. There we go. That was the way into the bar room. The gentleman on the buggy is a gentleman by the name of Herb Wendland, W-E-N-D-L-U-N-D. The horse stables in the background were the horse stables that came with the building. When our family bought it, he tore that down and built the grand brick horse stables in place of it. This is actually a shot that was given to me, and I apologize for the quality of it, but this is the inside of the main dining room, a picture from 1903 with two of the waitresses there. The photo that she gave me, I wasn't able to keep it, but I had a magnifying glass and I looked at the legs on the table. In our main dining room, the two tables that seat 6 people over by the windows, one of those tables is that same table. So we've had those 2 big tables that seat 6 now for since 1883.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
And here is the reason they had a separate ladies' entrance. Number 1, the bar didn't have any chairs or tables. Number 2, the gentlemen that frequented the place were not of a savory type, very unsavory type. That's my great-grandpa behind the bar, August Metternusky.
Oh my.
The beam in the picture, if you zoom back out, the beam in the picture is still there. That beam was part of the outside wall, because the building originally was over on the west side of that. They added the addition on in 1885. And then the spittoons. When we showed this photo about 19 years ago, there's a gentleman at the community center that was very upset about the photo. His name was Jim Van Gimmert. And the reason he was upset, he went to St. Joseph's School, and after school, he used to have to come over to the Union and clean the spittoons. So this would not make his day. Oh, by the way, the light fixture that's in there, the one lone light, that particular globe, we still have that globe.
Oh, no kidding.
From that. That was the original 1883 wiring. They built it as a modern fireproof building. They didn't have any fireplaces in there. They didn't have any candles. You had electricity, which of course is a fire hazard in its own right. This shot is again of the ladies' entrance. I like this one. It's my grandmother on the far right. My dad's mother, Bina Metternowski, with her sister, Mary Metternowski, on the left, and some unknown person that probably lived upstairs.
Boyfriend.
In the middle. It's just kind of fun. It's a shot of a menu from probably about 1927 or 28. This was preceded our original menu, but if you zoom in on the upper portion of the menu, this was the $1.50 dinner. You got a shrimp cocktail, probably 3 shrimp. Choice of tomato juice or chicken rice soup. The special steak. The special steak, remember I showed you on Broadway, I said there was Steckert's Meat Market? When you placed your order, they'd send a dishwasher down the back alley to go into the back of Steckert's Meat Market to purchase the special steak. And then they put it in the brown paper, run it back over to the Union Hotel. We stayed open until 9 o'clock because that's when the butcher shop closed. So that was the end of the day. So you got your choice of a potato or vegetable. You got a salad with the choice of dressing, rolls, which was the great-grandma's recipe in the rolls that we still do, a relish tray, a soda or coffee, and then dessert was included. If you went down, they had different ones there. Somebody actually commented on this particular menu here, said it was very good. And then down below, the a la carte items there, you got the pie, you had apple pie for a dime, lemon chiffon pie for a dime. If you opted to go a la carte.
Prices have gone up a bit.
Just a little tiny.
Why is the chocolate sundae an extra nickel?
I don't know. You'd have to ask them. Something else was an extra nickel. Oh, pie a la mode was an extra nickel too. Ice cream must have been expensive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Chocolate sauce, ice cream.
Oh
This is
my.
an interesting check, just to give you an idea of what they did back in the day. Number one on the far left, that's Ivan's Bar. If you zoom in on that, we always talk about truth in advertising, but there's the Ivan's building, and you look at the scale of the building, how small the people are in relation to that State Bank of De Pere. When the State Bank went out, they took off that whole State Bank portion up above there, but this is actually Ivan's building. If you zoom back out, it's kind of interesting, because what's actually occurred here is that Mr. Irvin Rasmussen, I don't know if anybody's related, we'll get back to that in a minute, but Mr. Irv Rasmussen didn't have a check. So he asked my great-grandfather if he could borrow one of his.
Oh, geez.
So he did. Scratches out Union Hotel, writes Denmark State Bank on top, scratches out State Bank of De Pere. By the way, this is all written in pencil. July 5th of 1927. The reason we still have this check is because we're still trying to get our money for it. In today's money, this $5 check is worth $85. And later on, if anybody wants to look through and see if they have any relatives, I do have a pile of about 25 bad checks up here. The most expensive one is an $85 bad check. Times that by 17, that's how much he wrote the bad check for back in the day. But it was not unusual for them to just grab a check. You notice there's no tracking numbers or anything like that on there. But that's one of the many bad checks that we accumulated during the Depression era. One gentleman, my great-grandpa didn't quite figure it out. He bounced about 6 of them. This is an early inside shot of the main dining room. Before they had carpeting, they have the gorgeous cane-back chairs, which my dad kept, and all of us, there's 8, I have 8 kids in our family. I'm the oldest of 8. And all of us got 2 of those cane-back chairs. We still have a few of them left. Those would have been from the early 1900s. The wallpaper that you see in the picture, it's an interesting story there. About 7 or 8 years ago, we had the wallpaper redone. Joe Piat, I don't know if any of you know him. Back in the early 60s, he helped his father put the wallpaper up. I was trying to get it repaired or replaced, not repaired, I was going to try to replace it because it was starting to have some problems, and he said, we can repair it. So he brought his crew in about 7 or 8 years ago, peeled the wallpaper off the wall, repaired the wall, put it all back up, painted the upper portion, scrubbed the bottom portion with Ajax, and where there was pieces missing, he filled it in. He actually found one section where there was 8 layers of wallpaper in a stack, which he actually numbered it for me so we know which was which. So this particular wallpaper in this picture was one of the ones in that stack of 8 that we had. We still have wallpaper left from some of these different time periods.
Wow.
It's amazing.
This is just a shot looking to the south from the Union Hotel. You can see the Zigzag Bar on the right, the Lee Brothers over on the right next to them, just to the right of them, right there. And where the clock is in the road over there, that's the Tick Tock Bar, which was Van der Zanden's Jewelers at one time. And when they went out of the jewelry business, the son took it over and called it the Tick Tock Bar. The Melcher family took it over at one point. That's a neighbor of ours. And on the left, you can see that what ended up becoming a Lee store, where you see the hotel sign there, that's the New Broadway Hotel. That ended up going out of business, and when the Lee store burned down, they moved over into the abandoned hotel building over there. Joe, what is that picture from? What year do you think? No, the one with the cars. I thought you'd tell me what year that was.
Oh, this one?
Yeah.
60s, 50s.
Late 30s.
That's what I thought.
30s.
Yeah, that'd be about right.
Looks like the Walton Stairs, which was in the 30s.
This was coming out of Prohibition. Prohibition is a misused phrase when it comes to De Pere, because Prohibition was not something that was truly followed in De Pere. We were blessed to have Green Bay to our north, and I say that because Green Bay, the city council actually passed an ordinance that they weren't going to enforce Prohibition, which was a blessing for De Pere, because of course the Fed agents set up in Green Bay. In the beginning, the Fed agents would reach out to the local police authorities just to let them know that they were coming to town, assuming that they'd get cooperation. Well, the cooperation they got was for the police officers to call the different bars and get the calling tree going to tell everybody to put their stuff away. So they all had to do it. They had an unwritten rule. My Uncle Roy told me the unwritten rule was not to overserve the man of the house. So my Aunt Seal, holier than thou, did rosaries every single day. But in the booth room, there's a little closet there. There's still soot on the floor. That's where her still was. That's where we made our home brew. Customers were allowed one drink. It was pure grain, but you get one drink out of that. I can only imagine what it tastes like. This was the bar coming out of Prohibition. Back in 1932, when we were coming out of it, Art Deco was the style of the day. Every bar in De Pere went with an Art Deco style, which is what we ended up with. The front bar was a bird's eye maple, gorgeous. Wish we still had it. Unfortunately, the underneath portion of the bar was just wrapped with stainless steel. It was all wood and rotted away from the other side, so we ended up having to replace it. We kept the back bar portion though. And this is an interesting picture because of the people in the photo. It's my Uncle Roy behind the bar. He graduated from high school in 1934, so this picture is probably from 1934 or 1935. The sunburst that you see up above and all the painting that you see on the wall where there's any painting there, that's not wallpaper. That was all hand painted by a gentleman by the name of Milky. He was a tremendous artist. Someday we're going to peel back the wallpaper and find out what's behind there. But these guys that are sitting at the bar, they were hotel guests. They decided they wanted some people in the picture, so they had them come down and sit at the bar while they took the photo. The next photo is the same guys that came and sat in the front lobby, the guys from upstairs. If you notice on the left, there's a drinking fountain there, the bubbler. That ended up getting moved into the main dining room. We still have that in there. It's an original piece from 1883. My great-grandfather in 1918 took out an ad in the De Pere Journal imploring people to stop coming in and drinking our free water. We had plenty of refreshments inside the bar area that they could get. And then 2 weeks later, he took out an ad thanking people for their patronage, so they obviously took them up on it. The clock that you see up in the upper right over there, this photo is again 1933, 1934. But you see the clock on the right, Joe? Right, way on the right, up above.
Where?
Right to your right, right there. That particular clock, the plug is still there, the outlet is still there, and the nail that the clock hung on is still there, and the clock is above the phone booth now. So that particular clock itself is about 100 years old. Still keeps time to within a minute in the course of a year.
Wow.
That's pretty good.
They did add on, as I said, a third floor in 1903. If you look closely at the building, you notice the brick is not entirely different, but very much different. So that if you look at it, you'll say, oh yeah, it stands out like a sore thumb. If you don't know it, it all blends together and looks the same. Dad Brazier lived at the Union Hotel, moved in 1941, stayed till 1981 when he passed away. Worked with the Packers from 1955 until 1975. One year he had the outside of the building painted for the Union, so this was probably the year. On the far right of the building, on the first floor, on James Street there, Joe, right, just zoom in on that part to the far right there where the windows, the kind of different looking windows, that's the room we call the card room. That particular portion was an addition, the 3-story addition that our family put on in 1920. That was a retail space underneath there. The only tenant we ever had in it was a guy by the name of Al Sable. He started his barbering business in that location for about 2 years. And the reason he left is there was a guy that had a bar where Art and Irma's was by Ford's Bakery. Yep. Every morning he'd come over for a shave and a haircut. And he disliked the fact that he had to walk all the way from there to the Union Hotel. So he did an addition on his bar and got Al Sable to move over there. So if you remember Al Sable, that's where he started right here.
Oh boy.
And this is a menu from the late 1940s. The pricing is interesting. If you zoom in on the lobster, you'll see the lobster tail was $3.
And what is it today?
It's $105. But the porterhouse was $4, so it was kind of interesting. It was a different kind of setup. But that was the format of the menu that we'll actually be going back to soon. Not at all. Maybe we'll have a tribute day on the day we're closed. Yes, we had calves liver. My dad is actually the one that introduced it. He liked calves liver and he talked the uncles into putting it on. We do run it every 3 weeks now. We put it out on Facebook when we have it. Here's the drink prices in 1948. 55 cents for a Manhattan.
Oh.
Pink squirrel.
Yeah, you couldn't go wrong on those. Wow. And look at the great wines they had. Port wine, Muscatel, Mogan David, Virginia Dare, Sauterne, Rhine wine, Claret, Chianti.
Cream
All the
cherry.
different wines by the glass.
Yeah.
And a very limited selection of bottled wines, I'm sure. This is another rendering of the main dining room. This would have been in the 1940s, late 1940s. The light fixtures that you see in there, when they remodeled it, they took those light fixtures down, stored them. They were Depression era kids. They never threw a thing away. I had those rewired. Those are the same light fixtures. I put them back up in the booth room area. So those would be the ones from the booth. The other